I stroll downstairs in my underwear, just to see what's going on. And I get down there and this guy comes out of my kitchen at me. My alarm went off at 1 o'clock in the morning, and not the alarm, but the entry delay, and I looked, scrolled through it, family room, and I said to my wife, like, family room? I'm thinking maybe my daughters are coming in, so I stroll downstairs in my underwear, just to see what's going on, and I get down there, and this guy comes out of my kitchen at me, and I detained.
This is LL Cool J, opening up about the wild night a shooter tried to take him out inside his own home. The guy came creeping in like a ghost and vanished without a trace. Years went by, no leads, no answers, until cops finally tracked this fool down hiding like a coward. But here's where it gets crazy. Once they got him talking, he spilled who put the hit out and what really went down. I got every detail, every twist, every name that turned this quiet night into a movie scene. Let's get into it. A street hustler picked the wrong house that night. Real talk. It's around 1 a.m., August 22nd, 2012. Studio City is dead silent. You know them fancy neighborhoods where the grass always perfect, the lights stay on, and every corner got a camera watching you? Yeah, that kind of spot.
So I seen that punch LL Cool J hit him with. I was like, I don't want no trouble with Busta Rhymes. I don't want no trouble. I don't want no trouble with no rappers. They punch hard. I was like, damn, man, wasn't that bad, the joke?
Well, didn't Jim Brown mediate it, in your trailer, actually?
So, after the fight happened, the tension on the set was crazy. Jamie goes off to the hospital. He's got like stitches in his tongue. He can't talk for a few days because, when he got punched, he bit his tongue, so he had to get his stitches.
Damn. Oh.
It was crazy.
Okay.
It was crazy.
Where people feel safe behind gates and alarms. But on this night, one career criminal was about to face a brutal wake-up call. Just because a rapper moves to the suburbs don't mean he lost his edge. That rapper, LL Cool J, real name James Todd Smith, legend, icon, and a man who don't play when it comes to protecting his home. In seconds, this calm, family-loving dude flipped the switch from peaceful father to full-on defender. This ain't some random Hollywood break-in store you just scroll past. Nah, this one's deeper. It's what happens when street smarts meet suburban security, when a man raised on instinct faces real danger in his own crib. Jonathan Kirby, the man behind the break-in, wasn't some rookie thief either. At 56, he'd been running in them streets for years, stacking up a record longer than a CVS receipt. We talking about a dude with a past full of serious charges. Manslaughter, multiple burglaries, gun cases, the works. He even caught a body back in '88 down in Dallas. This was no small-time crook. This was a man who lived by the hustle. Until he picked the wrong target that night. What makes this whole thing even grimier is the timing. Jonathan Kirby had just walked out the pen on February 1st, 2012, barely 6 months before he decided to hit LL Cool J's home. Fresh out, broke, and looking for a quick score. You can almost picture him eyeing those Hollywood hills like it was his personal cash machine. Some dudes get out and try to change their life. But others, they come home with that same hunger, that same grind, like the streets still owe them something.
So, nobody is talking on set. It's bad. It's LL Cool J's trailer, it's Jamie's trailer, my trailer's in the middle. Ain't nobody doing, ain't nobody going to ain't nobody going to food, the craft service and shit. It is tight. Next thing I know, LL Cool J got 30 months from New York at the set. Like this, all Queens. I'm talking Yankee hats, 8-ball jackets,
Buck 15s.
In Miami. They ain't taking their jackets off. They dripping. Ain't nobody taking their shit off.
North Face in the summer.
It's 97 degrees. He's out there like, oh, man. Ain't nobody doing
Rangers
shit.
in their mouth.
Yo, it is Thug Mansion, right?
And when you think about it, the irony is wild. LL Cool J, the man playing a federal agent on TV, training with tactical experts, learning hand-to-hand combat, acting out scenes with precision like a soldier, and then life turns around and says, let's see if you really got those moves. It's like the universe dropped a real-life test right in his lap. For 30 years, this man's been rapping about toughness and discipline, training with real Navy SEALs for his role on NCIS Los Angeles, and then boom, one night, he's forced to live that script for real. LL's crib in Studio City wasn't just some random target, it was a symbol. Everything that hustlers like Kirby feel locked out from. The gates, the peace, the luxury, the sense of security. That's the version of the American dream the streets tell you ain't made for everyone. But Kirby, he wasn't trying to watch it from a distance anymore. Word was, he'd been scoping out other houses in that same neighborhood, so this wasn't no spur-of-the-moment break-in. Nah, this was planned out, mapped out, and fully calculated. When Kirby broke that perimeter and triggered the alarm, LL had just seconds to act. That moment right there was the true test. No camera, no director, no retakes. Just a man, his instincts, and the safety of his family on the line. Most people in his situation would have panicked, called 911, locked themselves in a safe room, prayed the cops showed up before things got ugly, but LL Cool J, he wasn't built like that. While others might have frozen or tried to talk their way out, LL turned hunter. That Queens energy kicked in like a switch. He moved like he was back in the old neighborhood, defending his block instead of some fancy California estate. That's that real code right there. When somebody violates your home, your peace, your family, you don't wait, you handle it. No hesitation, no backing down.
When I went down to Camp Pendleton, I actually sat in a room full of some of America's top soldiers and had long conversations with them because my character's a former Navy SEAL. So I got to, get into the mind and talk to those guys. Once they educate you, they can't take it back. So, you never know. Maybe if you, raise your left eyebrow a certain way, I might, detect something. I don't know. But no, it's just, I try to leave it on this.
But here's the thing. It wasn't just rage driving him that night. LL wasn't moving reckless. He was moving trained. For months, he'd been working alongside real-life elite soldiers, learning their tactics, studying how to stay calm in chaos. His time training at Camp Pendleton with actual Navy SEALs wasn't just some Hollywood routine. It was legit survival education taught by men who'd been through real war zones and stared down death for real. So when the threat came to his front door, LL wasn't just reacting. He was executing. Everything he'd learned, every skill he'd practiced suddenly mattered. This was no script. This was real life. And LL Cool J was about to show exactly what he was made of. The showdown that went down inside LL Cool J's home wasn't no quick scuffle or lucky punch. It was a brawl. Witnesses called it a full-on knockdown, drag-out fight. The kind of raw, brutal clash that separates the real from the fakes. The ones who talk from the ones who actually live it. When it was over, Jonathan Kirby was left laid out. Broken nose, shattered jaw, fractured ribs, the whole deal. That kind of damage don't come from luck. That's from somebody who really knows how to throw hands. The injuries told the whole story. This wasn't two guys trading hits. It was domination, plain and simple. A one-sided beatdown that sent the intruder to the hospital while LL Cool J stood there without a single scratch. That's the line between a man who's trained for real danger and a guy who just thinks he's tough enough to take what he wants. Picture it. LL standing over Kirby, holding him down until the cops rolled up. That image right there became legend. It's the stuff that turns into street folklore. The kind of story people whisper like, yo, LL Cool J really did that. This wasn't a movie set, no camera crew, no retakes, just pure heart and strength. And here's the cold truth. LL spent his whole career talking about being strong, being disciplined, being ready for anything. But when it came time to prove it, he didn't hesitate. He delivered in the most real way possible. No gun, no bodyguards, no fancy gadgets, just raw instinct and straight up courage. When the police showed up, they found Kirby beaten down like he'd been hit by a truck, LL's family untouched, and nothing missing. That scene spoke louder than any rap verse ever could. You can take the man out of Queens, but you can't take Queens out of the man. LL Cool J didn't just protect his home, he defended his name, his pride, and his people in the most primal, fearless way possible. The official statement from his team kept it classy and calm. LL Cool J and his family are safe, and thank everyone for their thoughts and concerns. As a father, husband, and citizen, he is committed to keeping his family safe and is cooperating with authorities on this private matter. But between the lines, the message was crystal clear. Try us if you want, but we're ready for whatever. That's why this story hits so hard in the streets and beyond.
I think I did what any man would do, or what most men would do, which is do whatever you gotta do to protect your family.
It wasn't just about a home invasion, it was a moment that confirmed everything LL had ever claimed about himself. The strength, the code, the authenticity, it all checked out that night for real. This wasn't no celebrity move with a publicist spinning the story to make him look tough. This was real. What LL Cool J did that night proved something you can't buy, fake, or rehearse: authentic street credibility. When you're talking your walk line up that perfectly, that's when you stop being just an entertainer and turn into an icon. LL didn't just play strong, he was strong! And while the headlines celebrated him for dropping an intruder like it was nothing, real hip-hop heads knew this wasn't the first time Uncle L had to remind people not to test him. See, LL Cool J's career had been full of wars. Some lyrical, some personal, and some that almost got physical. Long before that break-in, he'd already proven that he was never the one to play with. He'd been through some of the most vicious rap beefs in hip-hop history, the kind where words cut deep and egos turned into battlefields. These weren't just fun rhyming contests or playful disses. Nah, these were territorial fights. They were about who really ran the culture, who held the crown, and who was brave enough to step to the legend. The most explosive beef of LL's career came when a young, hungry lyricist named Cannabis decided to test the king. Big mistake. Cannabis came in swinging, thinking he could outshine the veteran, and ended up starting one of the rawest lyrical wars the game's ever seen. LL later admitted that the whole thing was wild, calling Cannabis a pain in the ass, which in street code means dude brought some real problems his way. The beef started over a single line. Cannabis dropped a bar saying, "Yo, L, is that a mic on your arm? Let me borrow that." He claimed it was respect, showing love to LL's iconic microphone tattoo. But LL, already dealing with young rappers trying to take his spot, didn't hear it that way. To him, it sounded like a challenge, like this new cat was trying to snatch his style and his throne. From that point on, things got ugly. LL hit the booth with venom and the energy turned serious fast. What followed wasn't just another diss, it was war. Cannabis fired back with Second Round KO, a brutal track with Mike Tyson himself doing the intro. The lyrics were sharp, personal, and aimed to take LL out completely. Every bar was designed to strip the legend of his legacy to knock him off that top spot for good. But LL Cool J, he wasn't backing down. He came back swinging with The Ripper Strikes Back, and suddenly hip-hop was on fire. The tension was real. Two heavyweights trading verbal punches that felt more like street fights than rap verses. Fans picked sides, the culture was split, and every DJ was spinning both records back to back, waiting to see who'd land the final blow. That battle proved one thing: LL wasn't just some clean-cut rapper from the golden era. He was a warrior in and out of the booth.
Police statement, which had your real name, James Todd Smith, and it said, Mr. Smith was unhurt after the altercation, and the burglar suffered a broken jaw, broken cheek, broken nose, and broken rib.
Whether it was defending his home or defending his legacy, LL Cool J always came out swinging and winning. But Cannabis wasn't the only one who crossed paths with LL Cool J. Oh no, Uncle L had a whole lineup of rap rivals over the years, and each battle told a different story. His clash with Ice-T wasn't just a lyrical showdown, it represented a much bigger divide. East Coast versus West Coast. Back then, hip-hop was split down the middle, with both sides fighting over who really birthed the culture and who deserved to steer its future. It wasn't just about bars, it was about power, pride, and respect. Ice-T, holding it down for the West, saw LL as the face of that East Coast swagger, confident, flashy, and maybe a little too proud. To him, LL represented that New York attitude that needed to be humbled. So Ice started throwing subliminals, slick lines, little shots in his tracks, just to test if LL was really about that action or just playing tough on records. But what Ice didn't see coming was that LL wasn't some soft industry figure. He'd been dealing with street tension and survival moves since he was a teen in Queens. He wasn't backing down for nobody. Then there was the Kool Moe Dee situation, a whole different type of war. This one was generational, old school versus new school. Kool Moe Dee, a true pioneer of the early rap scene, felt like LL wasn't showing enough respect to the ones who paved the way. He believed LL was getting too much shine and taking credit for the style and innovation that the OGs had built. To him, LL represented everything that was changing hip-hop: commercial success, flashy confidence, and big crossover energy that made the purists uncomfortable. Kool Moe Dee didn't just talk about it, he made it visual. On his album How You Like Me Now, the cover showed a Jeep literally crushing LL's famous red Kangol hat. That image was disrespect at its finest. It was like saying, "We running over everything you stand for." In street terms, that's a straight-up violation. If that kind of move happened off wax, somebody would have had to answer for it quick. But out of all the beefs LL faced, the one that hit the hardest emotionally involved Tupac Shakur. And what made it tragic? It wasn't even real beef, it was all misunderstanding. Tupac thought LL's track I Shot Ya was a diss aimed at him, a response to his 1994 shooting. Pac took it personal, thinking LL was mocking his pain, and that sparked tension neither of them really wanted. Unreleased diss tracks started circulating, with subliminal jabs going back and forth. But before it could ever get cleared up, Pac was gone.
Think about what I've done or what I've accomplished.
I don't think about the castle, I think about the blueprints for the next castle.
That left the whole situation hanging in the air forever, unfinished and heavy. Then you had the Jay-Z tension, which wasn't about street energy or personal disrespect. It was about the business side, power moves, label politics, industry hierarchy. LL and Hav weren't out here trading bars, they were playing chess behind the scenes, each trying to control their lane in a changing rap game. All these beefs together painted a picture of LL Cool J as more than just a rapper. He was a survivor of every era, every wave of competition, every kind of challenge. Whether it was the mic, the streets, or the industry boardroom, LL always stood his ground and made sure his name stayed stamped in hip-hop history. During Jay-Z's run as president of Def Jam, tension started brewing behind the scenes. LL Cool J felt like he was getting played by someone who was supposed to have his back. Instead of support, he felt roadblocks, projects not being pushed, energy being drained, and it built up over the years. It never turned into an all-out war, but that quiet frustration lingered heavy, like two kings trying to share the same throne. Then came another wild story. Bill Bellamy once broke down how LL's no-nonsense attitude carried straight from the booth into real life during the filming of Any Given Sunday. This wasn't about rap records or ego battles, it was about respect. The fight between LL Cool J and Jamie Foxx started with just jokes, comedian talk, teasing, all fun at first, but when the jokes went too far, LL flipped that switch, reminding everyone that not every man's gonna laugh at disrespect. According to Bellamy, the trash talk between the two turned serious real quick. Jamie was cracking jokes like comedians do, testing boundaries, but LL, he was still moving by street code. And in that world, once you cross a certain line, there are consequences. And get this, the whole fight went down on set. Cameras rolling, cast and crew watching, the energy electric. LL didn't care that it was Hollywood. He handled it like he was still on a corner in Southside Queens. One solid punch from LL landed so hard it left Jamie Foxx with stitches in his tongue and needing medical attention, while LL walked off cool, calm, and untouched. That's how the legend moved. Controlled chaos, no wasted motion, no damage on his side. At that point, the pattern was clear. When LL threw hands, somebody got hurt, and it was never him. But what made LL different from most rappers who talk tough is that he didn't hide behind his reputation. He learned from it. He evolved. Years later, LL showed real growth when he opened up about his old beef with cannabis, admitting straight up that the situation was mostly his fault. He said, "It was more my fault. I wasn't there yet mentally." That's powerful right there. In hip-hop, admitting fault usually gets read as weakness, like you backing down or losing face, but LL turned it into a lesson. That moment showed a whole new kind of strength. He wasn't just the dude who could win a fight or spit a diss. He was a man who could reflect, grow, and take responsibility. That's what separates LL from the rest. He's proof that being real ain't just about throwing punches, it's about owning your story. Every win, every loss, and every lesson learned along the way. Having the confidence to admit when you were wrong without losing your respect. That's a rare kind of strength. By 2014, LL Cool J showed that maturity in full force when he and cannabis officially squashed their beef at an event in Brooklyn. Two men, once throwing lyrical shots like enemies, standing on the same stage showing real growth. That moment proved that even the most heated rivalries could end with respect if both sides were willing to evolve. That became LL's new pattern, a mature approach to conflict, showing that peace doesn't make you soft, it makes you wise. The same applied to his long-running tension with Ice-T. After more than 20 years of subtle rivalry, the two finally linked up in 2012, ironically, to work together on NCIS. No tension, no ego clash, no drama. Just two legends showing the world that their beef was never about hate. It was about competition, about proving who could really hold the mic the hardest. Those lyrical wars weren't just for show, they were training grounds. Every diss, every challenge, every verse sharpened LL's skills. The pressure to respond to those brutal diss tracks forced him to elevate, to dig deeper into his craft. That's why some of LL's most legendary work came straight out of conflict, because competition brought out his best. But make no mistake, beneath all that artistry, there was always an edge of real danger. Hip-hop beefs in those days weren't just rhymes. They had consequences. Lines could turn into fights, words could spill into the streets, and not everyone made it out unscathed. LL's track record of standing up when disrespected gave him a reputation that most studio rappers could never fake. When LL said, "I'll handle it," people believed him, because they'd seen what handling it meant. And when you look back at all those moments, from the lyrical wars to the street confrontations, they all connect straight to that night in 2012, when LL Cool J faced off with Jonathan Kirby in his own home. That wasn't just a random act of defense. It was the climax of a lifetime spent learning how to stay calm, strong, and dangerous when it counted most. Every beef taught LL a lesson in mental warfare, how to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast anyone who stepped to him. Every physical confrontation built his instincts, training him to act fast and stay controlled under pressure. And every victory, whether in the booth or on the streets, stacked up to create the kind of confidence that no fear could shake.
His mind would be absolutely blown. He was impressed being able to order a limo for himself. You know what I mean? I ordered a limo! So his mind would be blown. He'd be like, yo, this is the craziest thing ever.
By the time Kirby broke into that house, LL wasn't just a successful entertainer, he was a battle-tested veteran, a man who had faced every kind of challenge hip-hop could throw his way and come out stronger each time. The same toughness that held him down in rap battles now came to life in a moment of pure survival. Those broken bones and hospital trips weren't just random side effects, they were proof of what happens when authentic street credibility meets calculated preparation. LL's whole journey from Queens to Hollywood was a masterclass in how real toughness isn't just about fighting, it's about staying ready through trauma, controversy, and every storm life throws at you. So when the streets celebrated LL Cool J for what happened with Jonathan Kirby, they weren't just cheering for a fight, they were saluting a man who'd been proving his strength for decades. Anybody who really knew LL Cool J's full story understood one thing. What went down that night with Jonathan Kirby wasn't just random violence. Behind all the platinum plaques, red carpets, and quiet suburban life was a man who lived through pain, chaos, and dark moments that shaped him long before the fame ever came. The LL Cool J the world saw, the Hollywood star, the clean-cut family man, was also James Todd Smith. A kid who grew up with trauma, controversy, and conspiracy swirling around him in ways most fans never knew. The man who took control of that home invasion had already survived things that would have broken weaker souls. His toughness wasn't built in a gym or a studio, it was forged in pain, starting with the most devastating moment of his life. When LL was just 4 years old, he witnessed something no child should ever see. His own father shooting his mother and grandfather during a domestic dispute that tore the family apart. This wasn't no movie plot or dramatic lyric, it was real life, real pain that cut deep and changed him forever. Both his mom and grandfather survived the shooting, but the emotional scars stayed. That tragedy built something inside him, an instinct to protect, a readiness to fight, and a vow to never be helpless again. Growing up with that kind of trauma teaches you early that sometimes danger comes from the people closest to you, and that lesson created a mindset of survival that would define LL's whole life. That's the type of early reality that shapes two types of people, victims or survivors. And LL, he made his choice early. The connection between that 1972 family tragedy and the 2012 home invasion runs deep. In 1972, he was the scared child watching violence destroy his home. In 2012, he was the protector, the one who stepped up and stopped the threat. That's full circle energy right there, almost karmic justice. The helpless boy became the defender, proving that his pain had turned into power. That's what makes LL Cool J's mindset so real. He's not driven by ego or image, he's driven by purpose. His focus has always been on action, on protecting what matters, on standing firm when things get real. But LL's story doesn't stop at personal trauma. His controversies stretch deep into his career too. One of the biggest shocks came in 2013 with his collaboration Accidental Racist alongside country singer Brad Paisley. The track was meant to spark unity, to build a bridge between races and cultures, but instead it lit up a storm of backlash that hit LL hard. The idea sounded positive on paper, a hip-hop legend and a country star teaming up to talk about America's racial divide. But when fans heard the lyrics, the reaction was immediate. LL's verse included the lines, "If you don't judge my do-rag, I won't judge your red flag." And that line had the streets heated. Many people saw it as tone-deaf, like he was equating black cultural pride with Confederate imagery, a comparison that didn't sit right with a lot of his audience. People started accusing LL of trying too hard to please mainstream America, saying he was tap dancing for white approval, something that hit his reputation hard. He thought he was sparking dialogue, but instead, he walked into one of the most controversial moments of his entire career. The backlash was loud, and the culture wasn't letting it slide easily. But through it all, LL stood on what he believed. Whether fans agreed or not, he explained that his goal was about healing, not division, about conversation, not compromise. Still, that song showed how tricky fame can be, especially for a man who's lived through both the streets and the spotlight. LL Cool J J's story is more than just about music. It's about evolution. A man who faced violence, fame, and controversy, yet never lost his core. He's proof that staying solid, humble, and fearless will always win out in the end. And so if you felt this story and want to keep catching more deep dives into hip-hop legends and their real-life journeys, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Let me know what moment from LL Cool J's story hit you the hardest. Your engagement keeps this channel going, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.